Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 2 of Python series. In this series, we are going to understand what programming language is, how Python code works in the backend, and on top of it, there are two ways of writing Python code. That too we are going to understand in this series. First of all, let's consider computer. Okay. Now everyone must have heard that computer understands only binary language, right? Binary language means what? Zeros and one. So it doesn't have any other symbol. The language completely, it consists only of zeros and ones. It will become very difficult for us to write code in binary language, right? Like we humans, if we want to pass instruction to the computer, just imagine, even if I want to pass my name, Bhavna, in binary, it becomes difficult for me. That is the reason we need some middle person which will act as a translator. Okay. You might be thinking that if it is so difficult to pass instruction in binary, then why computer works on binary? Why not something else? So the reason is that it is easier for computer. Okay. Now, computer is an electronic device. How you are supposed to pass the instruction to an electronic device? So what we came up with is that we will consider two state, on and off state. The computer consists of small transistors. Transistors are like tiny switch. It has only two states, on, off state. It will either allow the current to flow. So in on state, current is flowing, and in off state, current is not flowing. Okay. So on state is denoted by 1 and off state is denoted by 0. It becomes easy for us to pass the instruction to the computer now. So when you are passing, let's say two integer 0, 0, 1, 0 in binary form, right? So it is equivalent to off, off, on, off. Like this, we will pass the instruction. On top of it, making hardware which works only on binary is extremely easy. And binary is mathematically clean too. Binary addition, binary multiplication, it is easier. And it does match with physical reality also, by the way. Like you must be knowing about voltage. Now, voltage is something which fluctuates with even with heat, to be honest, right? So voltage is like that. With physical factors also, it does fluctuate. If we consider 10 states, let's say, so you have to consider 10 states of voltage, which might fluctuate with physical factors. But what if we consider only two states? So low voltage means 0 and high voltage means 1. How easy it becomes? And the gap is going to be huge. Okay. And as the gap is huge, these physical factors are not going to affect that much to us. So that this is also one of the reasons why computer takes instruction only in binary format. Understood? Binary is difficult for us, but binary is easier for computer to understand. Okay. So we need a middle person, we need a translator to translate our instruction to binary. That middle person is compilers and interpreters. So programming language, the correct definition of programming language is programming the computer to do a task. Basically, we are passing the instruction to the computer. But we are not able to pass the instruction in binary. So we are using a translator in middle. Now there are two types of translators which we have. We have compilers and we have interpreter. Two types of translator. Now think of compiler like, I'll give you a real life example for it. I'm giving you an English book and I'm asking you translate this English book into Hindi. So if English book is given to you, English book I am giving, the entire book at once should be translated to Hindi, right? Yes. So entire book should be translated to Hindi, then only I'm going to consider it. But let's say I'm hiring a translator here, which is going to translate whatever I speak in English, is going to translate in Hindi. So one sentence I speak in English gets translated in Hindi. Second sentence I speak in English, it gets translated in Hindi. This is what interpreter does. Okay. So interpreter acts like more like a translator, line by line translator, basically. Okay. And this is translator at once completely. So in compiler, let's consider C language. C language uses compiler. So you create a source code, that is .c file you create. Okay. And you write code in that .c file. And at once we are going to give it to compiler. So the entire .c file is given to the compiler. Compiler is going to check the file, check for the error. If error is present, then it will return the error. Otherwise, it will execute the code. At once, it is going to execute the code. Okay. But when it comes to interpreter, like Python, you can pass line by line. Okay. Interpreter, you pass one line, the code will get executed. Second line, the code will run. Third line, the code will run. Fourth line, the code will run. Is this clear? Okay. Now, memory allocation also happens according to this only, by the way. Let me give you a real life example for it. Let's say I want to start a training of 60 students. Okay. Now, before one day, I know how many students are going to be there, right? I know 60 students are going to be there. So I have to arrange a classroom with 60 chairs. So at prior only, I will arrange everything. Okay. I will, like 60 spaces I will create for the student. That is what compiler does. Before execution, before that itself, it is going to allocate the memory. That is what we call as static memory allocation. Before runtime, when the memory gets allocated, static memory allocation. Okay, so compiler executes it prior only. And this is the reason that programming languages which uses compiler, we need to declare variables before using it. So we declare variables. We declare that, okay, these much memory size is required for me. But when it comes to interpreter, we are not going to declare. Right? The interpreter in that, I don't know how many students are going to come. So I'll be like, okay, tomorrow we'll see. But tomorrow, first student comes, I'll bring first chair. Fine. Second student come, I'll bring second chair. Third student come, I'll bring third chair. Okay. So this is how interpreter is going to work. That is the reason interpreter will allocate the memory during runtime. So when the code is running, so when my class is happening, at that time only I am bringing chairs for the student. Okay. And this is the main reason why interpreter is slow. And one more difference between compiler and interpreter is that compiler creates an executable file. So it has to create a file and then that file gets executed. Okay. In interpreter, that doesn't happen. Clear with this? This is the difference between compiler and interpreter. So the programming languages which uses compiler are C, C++, Java. All these three programming languages uses compiler. Now Python. Python uses interpreter. Python is dynamically typed programming language. So what Python does is, when you create a file .py extension and you write code in that particular file, it creates a bytecode. Okay, a bytecode is going to be created from that file, and then that bytecode is given to PVM, called as Python Virtual Machine. Okay, Python file gets converted into bytecode, and then it is given to Python Virtual Machine to send to CPU for processing. So this is how your Python code is going to work. So it is also creating a bytecode file. But Python is dynamically typed programming language, definitely, and Python does uses interpreter. So line by line, the code is executed. Like for example, if I'm writing 100 lines of code and I have error, let's say on 100th line, starting 99 lines will get executed. Okay, during 100th line, during the execution of 100th line, that time only error is going to be shown. Fine. Now there are two ways of writing code in Python. So we have one way called as REPL. Okay, it stands for read, evaluate, print, loop. This is what you write in Python shell. So yesterday I opened terminal, I wrote Python word, okay, and wrote enter. If you are using Windows, you open command prompt, you just write Python word and you write enter. Okay. So quick code we can write in Python. With the help of that, we can use Python as calculator and all. So quick task, or if you want to just try out something in Python, then we can use Python shell. We can use this REPL. Okay. Another way is normal. Like you're going to actually create a Python script. So you're going to create a file .py extension. You're going to write the entire code and then you're going to execute it. Okay, this is the second way of doing it. And this is the way which we generally use. When you are creating projects, at that time, you're going to write complex code. So you do require a file. You're not doing quick task there. You're actually building logic and you're going to write down that complex code in the file. Is this clear? So these are the two ways which we have to write Python code. REPL, which you can use for quick task, and .py, which we normally use to write the code in Python. So this is how Python works specifically. Okay, in description I will add the entire thing, like what are the process, what are the steps which are involved for execution of Python. Do check in the description. I'll also add the difference between compiler and interpreter. Okay, in the next lesson we are going to start with Python basics.